Get a cup, get a cup, get a cup. Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, to another video on Fresh Cuts Limit. Today, we're reacting to a YouTuber who vanished by Nick Crowley. Now, Nick Crowley makes crazy videos, and they're often quite dark. You're being warned. But yeah, I liked him a lot. Make sure you go subscribe to Nick Crowley. If you're new, subscribe. And yeah, without it being said, let's begin.
Hi, baby. How are you? It's me, Talika, your munchkin.
November 6th, 2013, a video was uploaded to an obscure YouTube channel called Sandra3000KC. Its creator, 30-year-old Talika Patrick.
It's Talika.
Its purpose, to send a heartfelt message to her lover.
I got dressed up for you. And I bought flowers. Look. Flowers.
A message that would go unreceived, however, with the only viewership coming from Talika herself.
Oh, that's sad. This kind of seems like normally I've seen a lot of men and kind of doing this kind of stuff rather than women. You know, it's kind of rare seeing women do this stuff online. It's more, it's more commonly associated with men behaving like this when they're just lonely and stuff like that, you know?
November 10th, 2013. Just 4 days after posting her first heartfelt video, Talika uploads what would become her final video.
If you were here, this is what would be your plate.
Again dedicating it to her love.
This isn't a YouTuber. This is the person who's using YouTube. It's not a YouTuber who's doing it to entertain people or anything. This is not a YouTuber.
And again, going completely unnoticed, falling into the void that is YouTube, and settling into the endless depths of the site, presumably never to be seen again. Or at least that's how it should have gone. In reality, these videos would eventually be put on display for the whole world to see, as nearly a month following her very first upload, Talika Patrick would disappear, leaving behind a minute trail of clues, the most prominent of which coming from her previously unknown channel, as it would quickly be discovered that things within these videos were nothing like how they seemed, giving rise to what would quickly become one of the strangest internet mysteries of all time.
Did the person that she was talking to do something?
This just gets stranger and stranger.
The very strange new wrinkle in the case of that missing doctor in Michigan, Talika Patrick.
Just
wait, she was a doctor?
that you were here with me, even though I know that you're not.
Did that guy say she was a doctor? Alright, here we go.
December 5th, 2013, Talika Patrick spends her day at the Borges Medical
Oh, she is a doctor or something.
Center in downtown Kalamazoo, working there as a first-year medical resident. The young
Oh, well, close enough.
doctor was described as being incredibly bright by her colleagues, with an extremely promising future ahead, and to those who knew her, she was a fun-loving and just overall great person to be around. However, for whatever reason on this particular day, Talika's personality seemed different. Upon her shift coming to an end, Talika would ask a coworker for a ride to the Radisson, a hotel located just a few miles away. Her request seemed strangely frantic, almost pushy, and sensing that something may be wrong, the coworker agreed to take her there, dropping her off at the entrance before driving away. From there,
Did she live nearby? Why would she want to go to a hotel all of a sudden? Unless she feared someone was stalking her, or she was going to meet up with someone.
Cameras show as Talika attempts to rent a room, only to be turned away as she didn't have enough money or a proper ID, with the young woman having left her wallet back at her job. During this conversation,
That's even crazier. So she just seems like she was in a frantic state to get out of there. How do you forget your wallet?
the employees at the front desk noticed that Talika appeared on edge and slightly incoherent, prompting a receptionist to ask if she was okay. But Talika brushed aside the concern and eventually left the hotel. Outside, Talika entered the hotel's complimentary shuttle, asking the driver to drop her back off at the Borges so she could retrieve her wallet, return, and then pay for her room. But when the driver eventually pulled into the parking lot of the hospital, Talika nervously turned to him and said, "I can't go back there with you," before rushing off, ducking her head between parked vehicles as if
What is going on here? She's like having a mental breakdown or something? Or there's someone there who's like stalking her? What is going on?
she was attempting to hide from someone. The driver then watched as she got into her car and pulled off into the night. He would be the last known person to ever speak to her. On the road, Talika began driving frantically at extremely high speeds, weaving in and out of traffic,
How do we know that? She's friggin' vlogging it? Like, how do we know that?
displaying signs that again seemed to indicate that she was potentially being followed and that she was trying to evade someone or something. Her driving became so erratic that a concerned motorist would call the police and report her vehicle.
Okay.
But before the authorities could arrive, Talika's front left tire on her 1997 Lexus would burst, forcing the car off the road before it came to a stop in the dead of the night, stranding her 100 miles away from her home. Talika then grabbed the keys from her.
She drove 100 miles away from her home? Like, what? What? And if someone was following you, then all of a sudden, you know, you're in a very dangerous situation. Maybe it'd be best to go to the police station. You know, if you think someone's following you or whatever, maybe find the local police station and go there.
Ignition, exited the vehicle, and was never seen again.
911 is the exact location of your emergency. Just tone it now.
It's on I-94, the westbound lane. There's a car off the road down in the ditch.
Within minutes, police officers would discover her car parked alongside a ditch, and upon searching the vehicle, all they would find were her personal belongings like her wallet, cash, and a cell phone.
Wait, what? I thought she didn't go into the hospital to get her wallet because she was afraid someone was in there or whatever. And you said that she left her wallet in the hospital when she couldn't get the hotel room. Did I miss something?
But no sign of Talika herself. Authorities would go on to search the entire area for miles around, including the shores of a nearby lake.
She probably got picked up by someone. That's probably what happened.
But found nothing. And with no sign of the young doctor, Talika Patrick was officially declared missing on the 6th of December. Leading up to her disappearance, everyone who came into contact with Talika that night all shared a similar story. Something was clearly off with her. She seemed nervous, even terrified, prompting some to immediately conclude that foul play was involved, and that perhaps she had somehow been hunted down. To address this theory, police dogs would be brought in.
See, it could be foul play, or it could be, you know, some kind of substance abuse. You know, if you're a young person and you're in school, which seems like she was like first year medical or something like that. I don't know. It just seems like something that young people would do. But it could be that, or, you know, that person that she was making a video for. It could be that person, but in that case, that doesn't really make sense, because if she's obsessed with that person, you know, she wouldn't be afraid of them.
And to track her scent trail, which bizarrely led them from her open car door directly to the side of the road before coming to an abrupt stop.
Duh! She got picked up.
Seemingly insinuating that someone had picked her up, willingly or unwillingly. Adding to the suspicious nature of her disappearance, the night prior, Talika had called a friend of hers named James Davis, who was living in St. Louis at the time, and explained to him that she believed someone was trying to kill her, and that she needed to get away from Kalamazoo to go visit him. And it's believed that she was driving to St. Louis to meet Davis immediately before she vanished, perhaps confirming that her concerns were in fact warranted.
Well, who would want to do that, though? Like, what did she do? Also, you probably want to get a weapon. If you think that's happening, why would you not get something to protect yourself or bring it with you? Like, even if it shouldn't be that hard to get a gun. But if you couldn't even get that, you could get a knife or something like that, so you have that with you at least. Or pepper spray, or a taser, or whatever is legal where you live.
Given the nature of her vanishing, the story of Talika Patrick immediately became a viral news story, with a search effort quickly being launched to determine what had happened to her. But early on, this would yield little to no results, as much like the air on that winter night, her trail grew deathly cold. However, on the internet, a new trail was forming.
I love is me.
Frustrated by the lack of answers in person, investigators started digging into the online history of Talika Patrick, which led them to their most important discovery yet, her YouTube channel. Going by the name of Sandra3000 Casey, Talika would publish a series of 9 videos with—
How would you find that? Like, let's be fair, how would you find this? If this channel does not disclose her name or identity, how would people just, like, I'm just stuttering over my words here. These 2 videos don't have that many views. They're not in front of that many eyes. Every single minute, like 1,000 hours or some crazy amount of hours are uploaded onto YouTube. So these videos would be lost in the water. So how did people find these 2 videos and then associate these videos with her name? Unless, is she giving out her name in public? Like, did she give out her name in these videos for people to associate them? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Within the span of 1 week in early November 2013, with one of the most infamous being a clip titled My Awesome Day, where she sits in front of her camera and addresses someone she refers to as baby.
Hi, baby. Good night. It's Talika. I am just coming
So she does give her first name.
to you to say hi and just to tell you about my day.
The video certainly wasn't without its strange moments, as at one point she stops and touches her chest before saying,
Baby, I felt that.
while also
Hey, what? Is she like going schizo? Who's she talking to? She's not doing a live stream, is she? Like, is she going, oh, baby, She said, baby, I thought that? Who's she talking to? Is someone responding to her? What's going on here?
also going on to randomly burst out into song, which seems to last the majority of the video.
And now I'm home, finally. Yes. Put it up a little bit of fight, it's alright.
And these somewhat unusual moments continue from here, as each of her 9 uploads follow the same exact format, serving as almost unscripted love letters to this unnamed man.
She got nice teeth. I know that has nothing to do with it, but she got nice teeth.
In various clips, Talika even alludes to the potential relationship troubles between the two, referencing how she didn't really know what was going on between them.
I don't know what's going on, you know, in your life and stuff. We have an idea, but
So it sounds like it's not a, I wouldn't say consensual, but it's like a one-way relationship. You know how like a lot of people are connected to, say, internet personalities because it's like a parasocial relationship. Is that the word? Seems like that maybe what's been going on here. Like, does the person she's messaging even know she exists? And is that person that she's messaging the one that like kidnapped her or whatever? Upset, but normally if someone like this is obsessed with you, you're not going to be the one that goes and kidnaps her. She's going to be the one trying to kidnap you, right? Like that's normally how these things work.
I don't know everything.
But still adamantly reaffirming the fact that she wants to make things work, and that she is still deeply in love.
You do your best, and I do my best, and we give each other a chance.
So in love that she even filmed herself cooking extravagant meals made for two.
It's like, what is that, a burger bun? Okay, don't be saying extravagant meals.
Going as far as to set the table for both of them, despite the fact that this date wasn't actually present.
Here are all my raw materials.
It seems like a mental health problem.
I don't even eat chicken. I'm vegetarian.
Definitely a mental health problem. I'm just joking. But why would she set a table for someone who's not there? Tell me that's normal.
But I want that for you. That's just potatoes so far. If you were here,
Taters?
this is what it would be your plate. Broccoli and tomatoes and peppers and
That's broccoli? What is this?
cheese.
What the frick was that? She didn't even mention what that is.
Within these videos, a few key moments make it clear that the two had actually met in person quite recently, as she points to a bouquet of flowers that she states,
And here are the flowers from last time.
insinuating that the two had likely gone on some sort of date within the days prior.
And then she's obsessing over him?
Viewing her content as a whole, despite some of the more unusual moments, it's nothing all that jarring, and it really just seems to show a woman who is desperately in love. And whether she was going through some relationship issues, or perhaps just in some sort of long-distance relationship, it didn't really matter, because these clips were clearly never meant to be seen by anyone but the man they were made for. And at first, investigators likely thought that they would do little in the way of helping to solve this case. However, upon questioning Talika's family and friends about these videos, a glaring red flag began to emerge, and the channel was thrown into a far different light. As according to all those close with her, at the time
Let me guess. She didn't have a relationship with anyone.
these videos were released, Talika Patrick should have been single.
There you go. Well, I mean, maybe she just didn't want, like, if it's a new relationship, it doesn't mean, you know, you want to share that person with your whole family, right? It's like if you've been together for months, that's like, okay, I'm going to take you to show my mother or whatever. But if it's like a new relationship, why would you be showing them to everyone?
Patrick's family issued this statement in response to the new video. To our knowledge, Talika was not in a romantic relationship, and it's unclear to whom she is making reference in this video.
Not once had Talika, a woman who was said to be quite open and talkative, mentioned to anyone that she was in a relationship. Friends, families, colleagues, and even neighbors never once heard about or saw her with another man. And even digging into her phone records.
Now that is weird though, because like, you would probably tell your friends if you were in a relationship before your parents or anything, or family. So if family didn't know, that's understandable. But if you're not even telling your friends, then it's like, okay, what is actually going on?
Revealed nothing in the form of romantic texts or frequent calls to an unnamed lover.
I feel like this is probably more of a parasocial relationship or something like that, where they feel like they're in a relationship with someone and they aren't.
By all accounts, Talika Patrick was undoubtedly a single woman. But if that was the case, then who was she talking to here?
Bye. I love you.
Who were these loving videos for? And if Talika's words were true, referencing previous in-person dates,
Here are the flowers from last time.
then how had no one known about this relationship? And most importantly of all, why had she coincidentally gone missing under suspicious circumstances just 1 month after these strange videos were made? Putting all this into consideration, the suspicious activity on the night of her disappearance, moving as if she was running away, and the videos made for someone who seemingly didn't even exist in her own life, one theory began to emerge.
Like that she's having like a mental health crisis or something, like it's all in her head.
A theory that pointed straight to foul play. Perhaps Talika had gotten involved in some sort of ill-fated secretive relationship, only for things to turn sour, leading to Talika being hunted down and kidnapped, thus explaining
Possible.
why she seemed to be fleeing on the night of her disappearance. With this in mind, investigators began to dig deeper into Talika's online footprint in a desperate search to uncover who this man truly was, believing that he may very well have some involvement in this disappearance, though nothing could have prepared them for the drastic and highly unusual turn that they were about to face.
Alright, let's find out what this is. Also, if you are in a situation where you think someone's going to kill you, or you think go to the police. And even if you can make a report about it, then if something does happen to you, then they have at least a suspect to go on. If you say, oh my boyfriend is crazy, or whatever, you know, he thinks he's going to kill me, they might want to, like, you know, if you can give a name, and then say something happens to you, then the boyfriend's the first suspect. If you fear for your life, you should make it known to at least some people, and to also give a name so that police have something to go on if something does happen.
Tonight, yet another twist in the mystery of the missing Kalamazoo doctor.
Tiger 8 uncovered hundreds of tweets allegedly posted by Talika Patrick in the weeks before she went missing.
To those who knew her, Talika was a well-put-together, extremely intelligent woman who was clearly of sane mind, but the discovery of her Twitter accounts began to paint a slightly different picture.
The fact that she's like, I have not been under the impression that she was of sane mind. Like, you can have a normal job and function in society, but also at the same time may have some screws loose.
In total, investigators would find 5 accounts that had all been active at different times throughout 2013, each of them belonging to Talika, and each of them having thousands and thousands of tweets, showcasing incoherent ramblings as if she was posting every single one of her thoughts, oftentimes even having
Average Twitter user?
conversations with seemingly no one at all.
Average Twitter user. It's just bots. You're having conversations with bots, people. But yeah, it does not, to me, it seems like she's not in the right state of mind.
Constantly saying things like, "Hi, my friend, how are you?" and "Everything okay? Just woke up, sorry." To which no one would be specifically tagged and no one would reply. And the deeper you scroll, the stranger things get, as much like her YouTube channel, she spends most of her time referencing her love interest, stating, "Well, I felt you a little bit yesterday. Last night after you messaged, I felt you thinking about me. And hope you have a wonderful day. Love you."
It's so bizarre. It's clearly it's clearly something's wrong with her head. Because you're not tagging anyone. You're just saying this. Who's following her? Can you go and see who's following her to see who might be reading this? But the fact that no one's responding to any of this stuff, the fact that she had, what, 5 accounts? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, maybe 2 accounts make sense, one for family stuff and one for your own personal stuff. And maybe if it's a love interest, they would be following you on your personal stuff. But the fact that there's no hearts, no comments, no replies, no reposts, and you have 5 accounts and they're all like going schizo, nah.
Much like her previous videos, these tweets would fail to gain any semblance of a response, which seemed to push her more and more into madness, creating more accounts and tweeting out even more frequently, typing messages as if she were expecting someone specific to find her. Should I start another page? Look for your friend. Let me know when you find her. Did you find me?
Should I start another? So she's opening pages hoping that someone finds her? So this really seems like it's a parasocial relationship.
I've been messaging you for the past 2 days from another Twitter account. I thought you'd find it.
So that's what she's doing. This is crazy, dude.
And this is just a minuscule glimpse into her posting, as these accounts hold an impossibly vast amount of information with so many unusual moments. But by far the most bizarre detail to come of all these tweets was one name in particular, one of the only specific names mentioned across all of her pages, which she brings up over and over and over again.
That's probably who she's obsessed with then, I would assume.
Marvin Sapp. At Marvin Sapp, good morning. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Again, Marvin Sapp, good morning. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. At Marvin Sapp, good morning. Don't be sad. God never puts more on us than we can bear. All 3 of these messages were posted within the span of 24 hours.
Who is this? A singer? Or a pastor or something?
And they were far from the only mentions of the famed Grammy-nominated gospel singer. Sometimes she would make blatant references to him and his music, oftentimes using his lyrics to point to a supposed connection between the two.
This is him. I don't think he friggin' kidnapped her or whatever. I think she just has some kind of fake, I don't know, parasocial connection to this person. And that's who thinks she's in a relationship with.
And though it's hard to prove outright with her tweets alone, it quickly became apparent that Talika's love interest, with whom she had seemingly tweeted to thousands of times, was in fact Marvin Sapp, introducing the possibility that Talika was perhaps just a crazed fan, which would make a few of her next tweets all the more disturbing. I have relocated to be with you, so I really hope you want me, so we can be in love and get married and have a couple babies.
Oh my gosh.
And, as you may or may not know, I attempted to visit you yesterday. Her messages were,
I told you guys earlier in this video. Normally, you know, if you're making this kind of videos, thinking you're in a relationship with someone, obsessing over them, they are the person that's gonna kidnap you. It's normally the other way around. You're the one doing the crazy crap. Then what actually happened to her? It makes even less sense.
Were obviously concerning, as it began to grow apparent to investigators that this relationship Talika had mentioned was solely a one-sided affair. After all, most would have assumed that someone as famous as Marvin Sapp would have no idea who this woman was. But this actually wasn't the case, as Sapp did in fact know of Talika, only for all the wrong reasons. Around the start of 2013,
this crazy woman keeps bothering me.
Talika began obsessively messaging Sapp and tweeting out to him in some sort of code, believing that the two were somehow spiritually connected and that he would eventually come to her, even claiming on her social media that she and Sapp were actually married, something that Sapp would eventually take note of, but never respond to, assuming that the woman may have been mentally unwell.
That's definitely what happened, that she's mentally unwell, but I'm not a psychiatrist, so would messaging her and saying, hey, I don't know you, we are not married, you know, would saying something like that or kind of trying to straighten out the situation, would that help? Or would that make her even crazier? Like, would she then go into the, oh, if I can't have you, no one will. You know, would you go into that kind of mindset? I don't know. But like, I would at least think trying to address it might be a good idea. I don't know.
However, when this failed to get a response, Talika then began to message Sapp's children, further angering the singer and increasing his level of concern. And when that too failed to get a response, Talika would pack her bags and relocate from California all the way to Kalamazoo,
So she originally was in California. Oh wow. Kalamazoo is such a weird name, dude.
Which just so happened to be the exact location of Sapp's congregation. as well as his home, a home that Talika would eventually visit in the dead of night, confirming that her tweets referencing the matter were in fact true. Talika's behavior had gotten so serious that Sapp himself convinced authorities to issue him an order of protection against her in September of 2013.
Did she know about this?
Pointing to over 400 pages of unwanted correspondence coming from her. Sapp would also ban Talika from attending his church ever again.
400 pages?
This, however, only heightened her delusional state and would lead to her posting these videos.
Oh no, okay, I guess that answers my question. What, so now that she knows that he knows about her, she's gonna try even harder? Oh my gosh.
On her channel, as by this point she was so far removed from reality that she truly believed that the two were lovers and that Sapp was communicating with her telepathically.
This is like actual schizophrenia.
And was somehow always with her. By the time December had rolled around, Talika's tweeting grew increasingly dark, as she began to write about demons and how they were affecting her. Writing on the 4th of December, "You reach me through a demonic portal."
What?
"That gives demons power over me and dilutes my spiritual authority. Please understand that I must protect myself spiritually." The very next day, Talika would go through each of her Twitter accounts, delete everything, and vanish alongside of the road.
I'm actually, like, I'm trying to piece this together here. So she deleted all of her Twitter... she deleted all of her Twitter stuff, but how are we reading what she wrote if she deleted everything? I don't know, man. What the frig? So she did this on purpose? But then she wasn't even found. Like, someone picked her up and drove away with her. So did she just happen to get kidnapped by someone? You know, with malintent, who had nothing to do with her?
The discovery of these accounts adds a whole new element to the case, and seems to point to one obvious conclusion, that at the time of the disappearance, Talika was likely in the midst of some sort of severe psychotic break.
Yeah.
But this still fails to explain what exactly had led to her actual disappearance. This question spurred on 3 prominent theories. One, that she had simply gone off into the woods alongside of the road attempting to hide from someone that just wasn't actually there, and instead was merely a figment of her delusions. And when hiding in the woods, she then succumbed to hypothermia, as wintertime in Michigan is notoriously cold. 2, that in the midst of this psychotic break, she decided to leave all her belongings aside and essentially run away, hitching a ride to somewhere far away, possibly to start a new life.
That could have happened. That's what it seems like happened. It seems like she did get picked up. But what if she did get picked up by someone crazy, and then they, they did something bad? That is also a possibility. It's always risky getting picked up by strangers, especially if you're a woman, because crazy people be out there.
And finally, 3, the theory that she truly was being followed, and that someone had grabbed her alongside of the road leading to her disappearance, as after all, that's exactly where police dogs had lost her scent.
Later, a bloodhound tracked her scent directly from the car to the side of the road, and from there, the trail goes cold.
Some would even further theorize that perhaps the victim of Talika's stalking may have had a hand in it, as by this point, Sapp was well aware of the woman and highly
Were you thinking he kidnapped her? That's stupid.
concerned with her behavior, which alone gave him a clear motive to protect his family, while others pointed to more scandalous affairs, that the two had actually been romantic in a time past, only to suffer from a major breakup, thus causing Talika's mental health to spiral, with the relationship potentially—
That could be possible, actually. That could be possible, but who knows?
Putting his career in jeopardy, as who knows what Talika might say or do, and given his wealth, he certainly had the means to make this happen. However, this theory never really went further than mere speculation, and police would adamantly state that Sapp was merely a victim of stalking, and was never considered a person of interest in this case.
The pastor is nothing more than an innocent victim of an apparent stalking.
And on a similar note, there was another early suspect that would emerge in the public eye, Talika's ex-husband, Ismael Calderon, to whom she had been married to for 4 years before splitting up in 2011.
I wonder what the reason for splitting up was.
Immediately after the two had separated, Talika had gone onto an online nursing forum and accused Ismael of emotionally and verbally abusing her throughout their relationship, leading some to question whether he too had a hand in Talika's disappearance, perhaps as a means of silencing her, or getting revenge for their relationship ending. But much like Sapp,
but she moved to friggin', they were in California when she was married. Because she only moved to Kalamazoo, to be closer to this singer. right? So that doesn't really make sense why the husband would follow her out there and then pick her up on the side of the road. I don't know, that doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Calderon was never actually labeled as a suspect. In fact, it appears that there was only ever one real person of interest in the minds of police, with that being James Davis, the last known contact that Talika had through her cell phone, as he was the one that Talika had called explaining that she was fearing for her life. Though given that he had lived so far away in St. Louis, he too would be cleared of any wrongdoings, and instead was eventually labeled as just a concerned friend. And with no suspect, no body, and no real concrete clues, speculation is really all we'd be left with. At least until April 3rd, 2013.
Oh boy. So this all started in November, right?
When everything would change.
First tonight, the developments continue to come in about a body found in a small Indiana lake.
This was not the answer anyone wanted.
Indiana? That's pretty far from where she was picked up.
Investigators are certain the body found in an Indiana lake is that of Talika Patrick.
Nearly 3 months after her disappearance, a fisherman would come across the body of Talika Patrick floating in Lake Charles, in the general vicinity where her car was found abandoned. With an autopsy
Wait, what? I thought that was... I was thinking it was in a different state.
Eventually confirming her cause of death, drowning, with no signs of trauma evident on the body.
So then why did What? So why did the dogs pick her up, like, going to the side of the road? They didn't pick her up going to the lake?
Putting the pieces together, investigators theorized that Talika had suffered from a manic episode, causing her to believe that she was being followed and even hunted when she hurriedly drove off. And perhaps the shock of getting a flat tire led to her believing that someone was attempting to attack her, causing her to...
Yeah, imagine you're in a manic state, you're paranoid as F, you're already thinking things are happening when they're not, and then you're freaking driving like crazy, and then your tires blow. You're already in a state of paranoia, and then actually having the tires blow. Could you imagine the crazy stuff you'd be thinking? Like, oh, they got me, or whatever. Like, as soon as you got off the road, you're probably going to get out of that car and run, because you're thinking that someone's already on, like, someone's, like, really close to you or whatever.
Immediately grab the keys and flee from the car.
Yeah, like, you're not going to be grabbing your wallet or anything. You're just going to be booking it.
Fearing for her life. Without a flashlight and running in complete darkness, it's believed that Talika accidentally ran straight into Lake Charles, which is a body of water located directly parallel to where her car was found, just a few hundred feet away. And tragically, that night the water was incredibly cold and could have caused almost immediate hypothermia, with the lake actually completely freezing over that very night, hiding her body in an icy tomb and forever sealing her fate.
What I don't understand is how did these dogs that sniffed her out, how did they not pick up that she ran in the direction of the water? Like, how did they pick her up? Like, they smelled her going to the side of the road and that's it? Like, how did they not pick up going to the water? I don't know.
And as for the trail she left behind on the internet, well, despite being initially labeled as a profoundly disturbing internet mystery, with these videos being considered key pieces of evidence within her case, law enforcement now believe that this was all just merely a coincidence. As though her uploads and tweets do show evidence of her stalking, this stalking to them seems unrelated to her actual vanishing, and rather than being viewed as clues pointing towards foul play, police now view these videos as apparent signs of Talika's fractured mental health.
That's how I viewed it, you know, from the start. Because she acted like he responded. At one point, she's like, "Oh, baby," like she acted like he responded, but she wasn't live streaming this. She was there alone. So who's she talking to, right? That to me, that's a sign of something wrong mentally. As well as the making two dinners. You know, if you go on a date with someone and you fall in love or whatever, you're not going to make two dinners even if you have no plans on seeing them that night. Like, that doesn't make sense either. Like, there's something clearly wrong.
This was the official explanation given for the disappearance of Talika Patrick, a tragic accident triggered by untreated mental illness. Although, of course, some are still skeptical.
You know what? You can hold down a normal job and still have mental health problems, like a lot of people do.
Including Talika's own family, who point to several unexplained inconsistencies, like her scent trail leading directly to the road.
That's what I say doesn't make any sense.
Which was the opposite direction of the lake. And the fact that the body of water where Talika had been found was supposedly thoroughly searched on the night of her disappearance, and later even probed with sonar technology on 2 separate occasions, all of which yielding absolutely no results.
That's friggin' wild. How did they not find her? But also, if it was a case of not malpractice, that's what doctors do. If it's a case of foul play, an examiner would be able to tell, oh, this person was choked, this person was stabbed, this person was shot in the back of the head, so they obviously killed himself. Like, a medical examiner would be able to tell what is the cause of death, right? So, if it was foul play, they still would have been able to determine if it was foul play or not. So in this case, maybe the people who just searched the water did a really bad job.
Despite the fact that that body of water is so small that most in the area actually consider it to be a pond, as it's so minuscule that it's not even labeled on Google Maps or Earth. Which
that is
makes
pretty
it all
small. It's like the size of a parking lot. That's really small.
the more unusual that she wasn't discovered there sooner, prompting some to believe that she may have been kidnapped and killed elsewhere.
No, because an examiner wouldn't have been able to tell if she was.
Before her body was later dumped in the water to give the illusion of an accidental death.
That's such a freaking stupid. That doesn't make sense.
Another unknown in this case is what actually triggered her manic episode, as many would assume that something must have happened that led to her believing she was in imminent danger, with some believing that it may have been a threat from her ex-husband or even Marvin Sapp. But according to all witnesses around her that day, nothing at all out of the ordinary was reported that may have sparked this fear, and nothing would be found on her cell phone as well, leaving the true cause of her episode to be unexplained to this day. The family was so distrusting of the initial investigation that a second autopsy would eventually be conducted.
Okay, here we go. Can they tell if something else happened?
Which would go on to show that Talika had water within her nasal cavity.
So she's breathing in water?
Detail that to the pathologists proved for certain that she had in fact died by drowning, which officially ended the police investigation for good, with one investigator stating that,
I do believe it's probably as solved as it's going to get.
Though to this day, we're still left with many unanswered questions, and for some, the mystery lives on.
Some people just don't want to believe in reality because, you know, it's too simple of an explanation or whatever. To me, this makes sense, what happened. You know, I've had friends, actually had a couple friends who've gone into like manic states, and when you're in that state, you aren't thinking properly. You aren't normal, okay? This makes sense. I could 100% say that this seems like a manic state gone bad. And although I'm not a doctor, the autopsy definitely, they did 2 autopsies, and they both prove that she drowned in the lake. So I do not think it was foul play. I think it's just mental health, you know, crisis.
Well, I hope you have a good night. Bye. I love you.
If you were in a relationship, you wouldn't be posting stuff like this on YouTube anyway. You'd be sending it to the person like on your phone or an email or something like that. You're not going to be posting it online on YouTube. And if you are going to post it on YouTube, you'd have it unlisted and then just send the person the link. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Hopefully you guys liked it. It's sad. This was sad. As per usual with Nick Crowley's videos. Sad and dark. But it was definitely interesting. And I would say from the very beginning, you could tell it was a mental problem from her behavior in those videos, because it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I hope that there's at least, you know, this has been closed for a while. I hope the family has kind of accepted this and that there's closure to them, because that would definitely, you know, it definitely suck not knowing what happened to a loved one and they're just disappeared. But I think this is a closed case, open to shut at this point. But yeah, anyway, whatever, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.
Strike the flame and light the match. There's no going back. Point their eyes up to